Because as Sean points out here, Hail Panel for $5. Sean, the movie man, thank you so much, says, according to Grace Randolph, Henry Cavill being difficult to work with at WB is the reason he wasn't Superman. Is this true? Insight, please. Grace Randolph's full of shit. I'm going to tell you right now, I've been spot the fuck on with my reporting over the past mostly year to where she has been spot the fuck off on everything. And almost everything I've reported has had some evidence to back it up one way or the other. Her, on the other hand, she is grasping for straws at this fucking point. Why? Because her source, if she has a source, was probably somebody who's either shit canned or on the verge of getting shit canned and on that other side, right? So let's break this down just for a minute. Now, I should be a little bit more humble about it, but I don't give a shit. Grace Randolph is somebody who drives me nuts.
Really?
Yes. Especially when she talks the last year or so with her bullshit with Warner. It's like, where is she getting this crap from? Because
Zack Snyder? Because she had him on a show, right?
Yeah, it could be. And she's got a hate boner for Cavill or something. I don't know. But yeah, so she's out there proposing some idea that this deal with Cavill isn't really done. And the only thing he's signed up for is The Flash. Okay. I said this last week that up to the point until even when Henry Cavill was in the film, I said it wasn't necessarily a done deal. And we learned that it wasn't a done deal until late last week. And that's what I was telling people, was that he wanted to hear the proposal. We got that proposal last week, obviously, because that's where we're starting to hear all the news. James Gunn announcement, Henry Cavill announcement. I'm sure we're going to start hearing about a Ben Affleck announcement soon, because I'm sure he was there too.
Affleck.
Sorry. What was that?
That was me. Sorry about that.
That was kind of cool. It worked.
The doctor sent me the script and I was looking at it. So
the what?
A script doctor sent me a script. I was looking at it. So
well, send me a script doctor. No. So yeah, so now she's trying to say that this isn't a done deal. He's only going to be in The Flash. No, we know he's got a 4-picture deal going ahead because that was the whole thing. On top of this, we dropped a video on this morning. A lot of people are, and I can understandably so, I should say, thinking that Henry Cavill quit The Witcher so that he could be Superman again. And that could probably be nothing but further from the truth. So if you haven't caught that video yet, the crutch of it is the fact that they announced a replacement already means that he left The Witcher a long time ago. We're talking months, if not a little bit longer. And this Superman news is as fresh can be. But Grace is, as usual, way off on base on this. But I'm curious what your guys' reaction to this whole thing is. Let's start with Chris. The whole Henry Cavill news, all that stuff. What's your reaction to it all?
First of all, I'm ecstatic because the biggest Black Adam I saw in a packed theater where The Rock actually showed up and introed the film, got a huge reaction. But the biggest applause, the biggest screams and gasps came when Henry Cavill showed up as Superman at the end. It got the biggest reaction from the crowd. That was already a movie that people were just pumped to see. So I'm ecstatic he's back. I don't know why he would have posted on social media if it wasn't a done deal. He probably would have done it much sooner. He's clearly been polite but frustrated about DC's reluctance to move forward on what could be an obvious moneymaker. I mean, the guy was born to play Superman. Okay. And that not just because of how great he is on camera, but because of his off camera demeanor. And I would only point to how he conducts himself on social media, as opposed to other Justice League members. Ray Fisher and Ezra Miller are let's just cut to the chase, kind of whiny bitches. And Ezra Miller is clearly mentally deranged and has no one that he listens to, no one advising him that he's taking any advice from. And Henry Cavill's been nothing but a class act. Behind the scenes, you know what? He probably is very particular because he cares. You know, this is where, you know what? You could say Harrison Ford was difficult. Harrison Ford, when they made the original Star Wars, you know, famously said, you can write this crap, George, but you can't say it. And he pushed back. I mean, he pushed back the original line at the end of The Empire Strikes Back before Harrison Ford goes into Carbonite was, I love you too. And he stopped production. He and Irvin Kershner said, Han Solo would never say that. I say that's not a difficult actor. That's an actor that cares. And you have so few actors doing that these days where they understand their characters, right? Like they understand it well enough to where they actually feel entitled to have an opinion in how that character is portrayed on screen. Robert Downey Jr. had something of an input into his character, Tony Stark, Iron Man, in the Marvel films, okay? I think all of that, when it comes from a place of someone who knows what the hell they're talking about, ends up being a good thing. And nothing I've heard about Henry Cavill I've ever heard has been difficult in the regard of just being a terrible person. It sounds like he really cares about playing Superman. I did have the opportunity to interview him once at a film junket for, God, what was the movie? It was some, it's done by Warner Brothers, sort of like, let's see if this guy has the stuff on screen.
Count of Monte Cristo?
What's that?
He was in the Count of Monte Cristo.
Not that, it was, but around the same, just before he, just learning he was cast as Superman, literally the same. It was one of those swords and sandals kind of epics. And it was fairly.
Shit.
No, that's not it.
That's it.
Man from U.N.C.L.E.?
It was shit. No.
Shit. Anyways, it wasn't Man from U.N.C.L.E. No, this is way before.
I know what he's talking about, and I'm trying to think of the name now. I'm going to look it up.
It was kind of forgettable, and he wasn't quite as beefed up, but I did get to talk to him. The guy was a total class act. It's weird to see Superman talk in a British accent, but also the thing that he did talk about his workout regimen, the thing that he missed the most was pizza. And he did have a cheat day, which was Sunday. And on Sunday, he'd have pizza or just stuff that you couldn't eat when he was doing his diet and workout regimen. But I don't know. I haven't heard anything. I think any stories have been non-specific.
Was it Tristan and Isolde?
Might have been something like that. Yeah.
Otherwise, he did the Two Doors right around that same time too.
Yeah. That might have been the Tristan
or Immortals. That was the other one he was in. Immortals. Yes.
That was the one. But in any case, all I'm saying is that, it's like, listen to that, like actors being difficult. Yeah. Harrison Ford was a little difficult. Okay. He originally wanted his character to die in Return of the Jedi. He lost that argument, but there are other arguments that Harrison Ford won. Look at like Harrison Ford playing the character of Indiana Jones. He had quite a bit of input. Okay. In the making of that, like actors, I think it's like, there are very few actors that even have maybe the power to be difficult, that lead to something good. Okay. I just think it's because, I don't know. It's just so funny that so many British actors are, playing such iconic roles, right? Christian
They're better
Bale.
Trained. I mean,
They're better trained.
Yeah.
No, literally directors will say that is that, actors from, overseas in the UK, they care about the craft, and actors from the United States care about being famous.
Yeah, and that changed in the early 2000s. I noticed that was changing in Canada as well. A lot of the acting teachers and coaches were doing more Americanized stuff and straight away from the British training and the Stanislavski training and all the things that were required to like make the person kind of get lost in the role and committed to the part. And they switched over to what's your brand. And I'm like, an actor shouldn't have that type of thing. They should be like, the actor needs to get lost in the character. The character can't be the actor.
But the British don't get lost in the character. That's actually their trick.
That's the trick. They make it appear like they are, but they aren't. They're very much of themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, they walk on stage and then they do their role and then they get off the stage and that's it. It's acting.
Yeah, usually they're just drunk.
That probably helps. But we do have a British actress in Indiana Jones, though.
Phoebe Waller-Bridge, yeah.
Isn't she the lead of Indiana Jones?
Don't remind me.
Yes. Yeah. Well, apparently, the Kathleen Kennedy says that was Harrison Ford's idea, was to cast her. So,
and she of course argued against it, right?
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. I mean, she's a talented performer. She's much better than the bag lady on Doctor Who.
I believe Kathleen Kennedy about as much as I believe Grace Randolph.
Well, she
Because-
did cancel a bunch of shows and movies that Script Doctor and I have scrupulously discussed and revealed.
Well, Kathleen Kennedy has been proven wrong so many times in the press. It's hilarious. She never knows what she's talking about, and she's either clearly pushing some kind of narrative or just doesn't know what the fuck she's talking about.
Well, she
Most of
keeps
the time.
announcing movies that don't happen. How many movies that have been in development have been announced and not happened?
About 4 or 5.
Oh,
And it's like I used to.
Mothma wasn't announced. The Real Housewives of Naboo. We got that, and that was
Oh,
canceled.
that's right. I saw that video. That was
At Home with the Solos.
And as I've said, she's
Boss
fired more
the
directors
Bounty
than
Hunter.
have actually made anything, so we have that as well.
Bantha King.
But I don't know how we went from Henry Cavill to Kathleen Kennedy, but no, I
don't
agree with Chris. I think Henry Cavill is not difficult so much as he is passionate. And you're right. A lot of times bigger stars, like they have their own writers who come in and rework stuff in their own image, right? Like I'm sure Script knows what I'm talking about. And
Tom Cruise
you
has
do
his
too.
own writers.
Yeah.
Before Chris Macquarie. Oh crap! So I would say the only person that was really difficult that we know of was Ray Fisher, because we know publicly he refused to say the catchphrase line of his character.
Yeah.
And
RoboCop
I think this
was pretty difficult.
Peter Weller,
apparently.
really?
I know that other people felt he was difficult, but him and Verhoeven were actually kind of in sync, because I remember seeing an interview he did, a long form interview he did with Kevin Pollak, where he was.
No, this was a different movie. He shot another
Oh.
completely different movie in Toronto, and then my chillin' bros was saying that he was really difficult to work with.
Well, I've heard. Here's the thing with him, especially if it's more recent. Here's the thing with Peter. He's a professor, isn't he?
Yeah.
So like, yeah, for you to pull him away from that, because he loves doing that, I guess. So like, you got to give him a good reason, and that's why he doesn't really do a lot of acting that much anymore. But
anyways, people like to tear down successful individuals. That's a natural thing to do.
But the other side of what I was saying is like, yeah, because like one of the individuals I'd talked to about the whole Blade business, he would have been one of Wesley Snipes' guys to come in and rework the script in his image. Right? Like that's kind of what they do. So that's not abnormal at all in Hollywood. So Henry having that or having some kind of say in this doesn't surprise me. Henry's also at a caliber right now, regardless if you want to say Superman helped you get here. I think an argument could be made at this point that he could have gotten to this point by now without Superman. Superman definitely helped. But I think that's where, if he's being quote unquote difficult at all, it's really him just basically wanting what he's worth and wanting the power over the character that he thinks he deserves. And I don't disagree with him.
Speaking of that, so they've obviously got Witcher 3 in the can. Actors can be scheduled around different projects. Having Witcher and Superman probably could have been done. You're saying that Cavill left Witcher.
Yes.
So are we surmising that Witcher 3 sucks?
Well, we have a little bit of evidence to that, right? I don't know if you guys saw this or not. I'm sure some of you did. I don't know if he was the showrunner on Witcher, but he was one of the writers over there who's now working on X-Men. He was talking about how everybody he's working with on X-Men, he vetted and made sure they were fans of the original show, because he didn't like when he was working on Witcher that they didn't take the source material seriously. In fact, some people mocked it outwardly, I guess. And knowing Cavill, what we know about him, if this is the case and how the show had shifted from, and I've never played the games, full disclosure, never read the books. I've never actually watched the show. I just know about it kind of tangentially. I know what it's about and all that kind of stuff. But from what I've heard from you guys out there in the chat and other people who've seen the show that I've talked to, it took a major swing towards the Whammon, and he's kind of taken a back seat in his own show. So in that respect, I can see Cavill going, well, you guys are not going to respect this. Why the fuck should I? I've got other things that people want me to do. Right. I think
I've
it's
got
more
Highlander. I've got Superman.
Yeah. Well, and at that point, Superman was still a little ways off. And that's what people don't understand. And this is where I know Grace Randolph is full of shit, because Hamada himself, and we found out about this, and this is why I was saying it was not a done deal. And he wasn't necessarily in Black Adam until that 0 hour, and it was because Hamada was fucking blocking it. Like, these guys,
this for sure.
That it's been out there in the press now. It's not just me saying it. And Sarnoff and all these guys, the Cavill and not and a little bit more so, The Rock basically dropped a bunch of. Check out our video from this morning if you haven't yet. It breaks us down so well. Andre did a great job of putting all of it out there so you see what's going on here, supporting what we've been reporting for the last couple of years now, and especially what I've been saying for a while now, and that is they didn't want him as far as the old regime, but the new regime did. So there was a bunch of fighting and back and forth, and it did not come. It came down till the last minute when they finally got him in there, because I was told there was a placeholder for him, but he had not shot the scene yet, and they had not talked to him directly yet. And then we found out that, yeah, this was like finagling behind the scenes, and like The Rock said, a lot of phone calls, a lot of meetings, and it took a lot of years and a lot of pushing.
Agent.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's the thing is that this boils down to, and that's why we always kind of knew that there was a possibility of it being true, is because of that, right?
No, that shows a lot of goodwill.
Yeah.
So, and just to finish off the Black Adam thing, I was curious about the box office for this weekend. It didn't do that badly. It
did well.
Doubled from, like, it finished off at 67 million, and it finished off at 110-ish million. Like, that's like,
it's done 250 worldwide now, and this is kind of what we had predicted would happen if things all went well. And Warner played it perfectly this week. Not only did they kick Disney in the nuts twice, but they managed to get some hype rebuilt for this movie. And you've seen a drop we don't see too often in these superhero movies.
Well, it's only a 50% drop.
58.
Yeah, 50-some%. Yeah, and that's rare for these. Usually you're looking in the high 60s to low 70s percentile for these kind of movies.
So anyways,
that's
just
quite good. I mean, they're in the best window they could have been, because there's literally no competition for it other than some horror films, which
and none next week either.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's
so they might have
they
might have another 50% drop for next week, but that's still some good change coming in. And also, China, they release in China on the 11th, so that's also going to be a boost.
Well, what did I say, guys? I made some comparisons to Top Gun, and that's kind of, I'm not going to pretend in a million years this movie's ever going to make $1 billion. It might, but I doubt it. But it's kind of showing what I said. It has that kind of potential like Top Gun did to just kind of stick around. And I think it's going to give Black Panther a run for its money, because I'm not seeing too much buzz for Black Panther.
Well, it's the poster. There's one guy in it.
Yeah, well, there's that, and on top of many other things.